Greetings YouTube, welcome back to the Methanerd channel. I am Marcus. This video will of course be the final part of the collaboration between me as well as Team Crushing the Meta. In this video, we will be going through other options that you can run in the Dudley deck. We will also be going through what is the recommended trigger lineup that you would want to run. Finally, we will take a look at the overall big picture of what the Dudley deck will look like straight out the gate. And lastly, we will be covering some of the questions that is frequently being asked, as well as 2 questions from the fans, which I did post it up in the Facebook beforehand. Congratulations to those 2 fans that actually got shortlisted for the question. With that being said, enjoy the video. Speaking of grade 1 options, of course this is where the deck actually ends because we are at 50 already. There is actually another card that I wanted to bring into attention. Of course, more option is always good. We have Gary Cannon. Now, I actually bring this idea to DBOY when we start to theory crafting the build, is that Gary Cannon in the early game is very good. One of the reasons why you would want to run Gary Cannon is because Daisy. The only time that you can actually call Daisy from hand is by Dudley Mason attack hitting. There is no way for you to actually call Dudley Daisy. Well, there's also Dudley Lucifer. You do not really want to see Dudley Daisy in your hand. So with Gary Cannon, with you attack hitting, you're able to draw 2 cards, which may potentially be Emperor himself and also some other key pieces that you may be lacking. Gary Cannon also does give you that 1 soul, which is also really good for you to fuel Lucifer as well as Daisy's own skill. And since you're putting 1 card back to deck, you're able to choose either Daisy or maybe some other triggers that you have in your hand back to the bottom of the deck and recycle. I did pitch this idea to DBOY and he also saw that this card does have some potential. But the reason why he is not in the main is that the value that he brings does not really justify running him in the deck, because you're basically just combo this card with Daisy, whereas Dexter is another level.
I think you could leave Dexter out of the equation. So we will say Dexter will be at 304. And then you have to choose between this card and Acrobat Verde. Both of them makes the deck more consistent, but do it in a different way. You could play this card if you have a stronger grade 2 turn, as in regulars that attack for higher amounts like Bracken. You could use this card if you have more cards that you want to put back to your deck. But you use Acrobat Verde because you only play 8 grade 3s. That's not much. Also, we call some of our grade 3s sometimes on the 2 turn. Sometimes you take 3 grade 3s out of your deck on the grade 2 turn. So in my eyes, Acrobat Verde is better. He's also a good right target, and this card, although I love Commander Gary Cannon, I play him in my current build, I think that for this deck, it's not necessary.
This is still a very solid option. There is no right or wrong, just that how you're gonna build your deck. It's all up to you, as well as, of course, personal preference. Alright, so for the trigger lineup, it's actually surprising because at the beginning of the testing phase, I was going for 8 crit and 4 draws. And I think DBOY, you, if I remember correctly, you actually run 8 draws or maybe still 8 crit and 4 draws. Is that right?
In the other deck, I went 8 draws, but in this deck, I started testing 6/6 right away.
So you started with, oh sorry, of course the heals is of course at 4. There's nothing really much to talk about. So you will be going at 6/6. Yeah, and then after 1 day of testing, I find myself going for the 6/6 as well. What a coincidence.
Coincidence? I think not!
Well, maybe not. Maybe.
For this deck, you actually want to play 16 crits. You want to play 12 crit. You want to play 8 crit. You want to play as much crits as you can. Why? Because you're creating power. You want to go force 1. You want to move the markers. You want to hit them hard. You want to destroy them with those crits. But you do minus yourself. Sometimes that extra draw helps a lot. Everything in your deck is a combo piece as long as you don't draw Daisy. If you draw Daisy, it's still good if you write into Lucifer, but you need the draws. Sometimes you may think you do not. Try it out. Play the 8 crits. Play more crits, but you find yourself having 3 cards in hand, 2 cards in hand, no cards in hand going into your turn. And Spike Brothers is a deck that relies on Vanguard. The Dudley deck is a very combo heavy deck. It's pieces reliant. You need the right part. Just 1 card could make a big difference. That 1 Dexter, that 1 Daisy could actually change your view. Because Daisy or Davy into Daisy into another attacker. So 3 cards, but just having the Davy in hand. So remember guys, the draw triggers are important. We, both of us, don't want to play 6 on 6. We want to play 8 crits, but it doesn't work. You need the draws. You really need the draws.
Of course, we're not going to stop you from running 12 crits or 16 crits. It's still up to you. But for our personal preference is that the 6 crit and 6 draw is the way to go. Of course, you could run whatever you want to run. It's your deck anyways. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at what's the sample deck list that we have at the moment, because I don't have a printer. I'm really broke and DBOY has it, so we're gonna use his deck, and this is what the deck will really look like. And of course, what are the changes that you think you will change in the future?
Well, I did find myself riding into Lucifer first more often than I thought I would. So with that, you actually will go force 1 more than going force 2. And you could change a little bit with the draws and the crits, as we said. You could play 6 or 7 on 5. You could do a little bit of changes, but it will not change the deck a lot. You see me playing 1 more Dexter and taking out the Verdi, so that does help. And there is one card that I really want to run into the deck, but I just don't have space, and that is something that could put cards from the drop zone back to your deck. So we're talking Wonder Boy, we're talking Sprout, especially those 2. You want to play them, but they make an awkward feel. The good thing about Sprout is that he already goes to the soul, so you could go to soul and draw, which you don't minus. So it's a very good card, but you don't want to take out Rona. So that would mean that you will have to take out a Great One. So bye bye Verdi. And yeah, it pretty much depends on, I think, a little bit of the meta and a little bit of your playstyle, a mix between the 2. If you want to rush a lot, then you could play cards like Commander Gary Cannon because you get the value back. If you want to chill back or relax, you could play other cards that could put cards back to your deck. For me, I have to play Verdi because I don't get the right grade 3s into my hand. Sometimes I have to assist into the grade 3 multiple times. Playing only 8 grade 3s doesn't work for me. I need to play more, but there is no other grade 3 to add to the deck. So I think between what we talked about yesterday and what we have today on the screen, I already changed what I wanted to change. Having the heal in, having the Dexter at the maximum. If I could play 6, I would play 6. So 4 Dexter, 4 heals in there. I think this would be the list for some time.
Okay, so we're gonna go through some of the very famous question me and as well as DBOY have. Is of course, the first question that we have is of course, is this deck going to play Force 1 or Force 2? So here's what we thought. With the power bonus from Emperor himself, Force 2 seems like the most likely choice for the Force. Of course, with Force 2 you do get the criticals on your rearguards, and since you're able to still pass around the Force marker with Dudley Mason as well as Dudley William. However, if you do find yourself riding into any other Lucifer or Emperor, you don't really get any value out of the marker. But of course, at that time, if you're not able to move the marker, then it's good. You can just put both rearguards with Force 2 markers and they're both gonna hit really hard. But it is also very depending on the situation, because by going Force 2, it means that most of your rearguards will be hitting for a slightly lower power. I have some rearguards attacking for like what, 20? It's very pathetic. So your thoughts on this question?
I think you explained it very well. There are a few things that you have to think about. How many Masons do you run? How many Masons do you have left that you could use? Do you really run William at 4? Are you able to move the markers? What is your first right target? What are you playing against? Do they have enough shield value? Choosing Force 2, hitting them for those 4 damage, and even if they get triggers, the next turn you will kill them because you have lots of attacks and all of them, or could have the Force 2. It really depends. There's lots of things. Keep it open for yourself. Do not choose Force 1 or Force 2 right away. Let the options go throughout the game. You have to think about your deck, think about your opponent deck, what you have left, what are the combo pieces, and make a way for yourself, and that turn choose Force 1 or Force 2. There is no hard choice between these two.
I think what DBOY wants to say is always keep a very flexible mind. Okay, so that sums it up for this question. Next question it has is, I think this is the most popular questions after one day of debating in the Facebook group, is Dudley better than the Rising deck? Short answer is no. Unfortunately, no.
There is a short answer and there is a long answer.
So for the long answer, while Dudleys is able to hit for 5 attacks, may potentially hit 6, 7, depending on if your Mason hits. Rising is also able to do 5 attacks and possibly even more, and might be more consistent. Now, the crucial difference between Rising as well as Dudleys is because of the 1 Force 2 mark, because Rising is able to get both Force 1 as well as Force 2, and each and every time you're able to write Rising, you're able to keep on getting value after value after value, whereas for Dudleys, it's either 1 Force 1 or Force 2. One very important thing to know about is that Bull Spike himself does give you the pluses. By retiring 1 as well as draw 1 is very good, and which Dudley does not have access to, which is kind of sad. But Dudley's is playing differently than Rising. It's more of a very aggressive deck. For Dudley's, the edge that Dudley's have over Rising is the element of surprise. Since we all know Rising is going to be the more meta choice than Dudley's, most Spike Brother players are going to play Rising in a tournament set. If you play Dudley's, not many people is going to know about, wait, what does the Dudley's do anyways? Which card should I retire, or which should I even give Counterblast, or should I not even give Counterblast? But the downside is that Dudley's is a piece reliant deck as opposed to Rising, because Rising with Ambush Dexter, you're able to fetch out 2 Great Trees very consistently. And even if you do not have that many rear guards, the fact that you can actually move the markers as well as even if you have the front row, it's more than enough to basically kill your opponent. Whereas for Dudley's, it does requires you to have some of the key pieces in the deck as well as in the hand. So if you do not have those, then your whole deck is basically gone. And also one of the stuff is that Dudley's is slightly more susceptible to retiring deck, because only your front row is going back to the deck. And of course, if you do not call anything via Dudley Daisy, your back row is most probably going to be Emperor, and you have no way of recycling them. Is that all the points to better answer this question, DBOY?
I think it is. You have to bear with me a little bit here. So guys, give me like 5 or 10 minutes. I need to explain this. So what you explained are facts, right? So those are the facts people have to understand. For me, this question have 2 important things. First one, competitively. Second one, fun. There are 2 ways to play Vanguard. Sometimes you play against friends, sometimes you compete in tournaments, sometimes you really want to win, sometimes you're just chilling. Is this deck made for the competitive as well as for fun? We know that this deck also very good in fun, because it's pure Dudleys, it's a second deck, it's Dudleys, it's Emperor, it's lots of things, it's combo heavy, it's what we love about Spike Brothers. And we don't have to see Rising. And it doesn't need Bull Spike. I have lots of friends who play Spike Brothers, don't have Bull Spike, and they say I could not build a good Rising deck without Bull Spike. Well, here you go. Just build Dudleys, have the last 2 supports, and you're good to go. So that's for fun. Then we get into competitive. What makes a deck good competitively? Is the deck consistent? How does the deck do in the current meta? How is the deck known in the current meta? Well, as you already explained, this deck has the surprise factor. Your opponent doesn't know how to react. They don't know. 2 count blast, 1 count blast, no count blast, what to do. They play the heal, why do they play that heal? Why do they play this? Why do they play that? What's the combos? I don't know. When do I let Mason hit? When I don't let Mason hit? Why is there hit pressure? Why are some cards going back to the deck? They don't get it. They don't understand it. They will be reading cards, will be getting confused, and they would not know what to do, except if they play the deck themselves. But that's also the reason why the deck punishes you. If you don't play it yourself, if you don't know what the combos are, sometimes you will end up with a misplay with a Daisy. Sometimes you think you could call a Daisy with the Emperor, doesn't work. Sometimes you think you could call a Daisy with the Daisy, doesn't work. Read the cards. So it does play competitively because it has the surprise factor. Why is the short answer no? Because it's less consistent, and it's also not flexible at all, because you need this to call that and you need that to call this. That's it. That's what you want to do. Well, let's talk about Rising. Where's Juggernaut? I mean, Juggernaut hits hard from grade 2. You could just be able to call your field and put your opponent at 4 damage just like that. Right into Rising, have Force 2 marker, move Force 2 marker across the board. 4 attacks, your opponent need to guard all 4 attacks. That's it. So this deck, yes, it's fun, it's strong. It's not as strong as the Rising deck, but it's still very good. Way better than people think it is.
Yeah, so that's basically sums up this question, because if you do have other facts, or if you do have other questions regarding this question, the comment section is your playing field. Go do it. Next, of course, we have is the fan question. I did post up in Facebook saying that I think me and DBOY are accepting some of the questions that you guys may have for the Dudley deck. And of course, we are only able to pick 2. Come on, it's a YouTube video. We don't want this to be a 1 hour long video.
If you guys want more questions, and we could do that, because I love collaboration videos, I like working with you. So if you guys want to have more questions for us to answer, let us know in the comment section below, and we will pick comments on this video to answer for you guys. So we will make just another video where we have the time to just answer questions. That's good as well for us.
So the first question we have is from, if I'm pronouncing your name right, Juan Pablo Castillo. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, okay? I'm really bad with names, as you guys know from my past videos. So his question is for the counterblast issue. Even with Lucifer, the Dudley is looking to be a very heavy on the counterblast. So the way we react to this question is that we have to think about what is your target for your first and second grade 3 ride. So what you want to basically consider here is that, do you want more power, or do you want the resources to go to the second turn? Are you able to end your opponent right then and there, or do you want to save a little bit more resources for the next turn? Any more inputs?
I think that sums up the question. How long do you think the game will progress? What's your last call? Is your last call Emperor? Then you want power. Is your last call Lucifer? Then you want countercharge. So remember guys, you need to use and abuse Lucifer. Always try to get the countercharge back. Decks turning into 2 Emperors? You could do that, but that's greedy. Remember, that is very greedy. Lucifer and Emperor may sometimes be the better choice. So think about the future, think about how many heals have you seen. Could you heal? Because there is no other way to countercharge, so the heal is the only countercharge. So Lucifer heals, what do you need to do? I think that's pretty much sums up the question.
Alright, the next fan question we have from Keon Romero. Yeah, please don't be too hard on me. What will be the foreseen common mistakes people will do with the deck, and what should be done to avoid the said mistakes? Similarly, what should one do in order to bring out the full potential of the deck? So, of course, you do have the honors of doing this one, DBOY.
I love this question. I mean, this is perfect. This makes me think about somebody having an exam, but he doesn't know how to learn for that exam. What does he need to do? And I'm not saying that that's the case right here. I'm saying that that's the thing that we have most often, is we don't want to make those misplays, especially not in a tournament where you have an opponent that could punish you. Because some opponents does, some opponents don't. So first thing, reading is important. And I'm not meaning this as a joke. No, this is real. There are cards that return at the end of the battle. There are cards that return at the end of turn. If you forget, use counters. Use counters with different colors, so you remember. Put something beneath the card or on top of the card, like a counter, as I said, to know which cards go back and which not. There are other stuff as well. Some cards call only grade 3s. Some cards call non-grade 2s. Some cards do this, some cards do that. Some cards call from deck, cards call from hand. So before you pick up your deck and you go through it, read the card again. Then there is the second, and that's my favorites. Some people ask me, DBOY, what do you do before a tournament? Against who do you test? I never test against other people's. I always test against myself. I mirror box. I don't have an opponent. I just play. I pick up my cards, I reshuffle, I ride, I take 1 or 2 damage, I go to grade 2, I go to grade 3, I do the combo, and after that I did a mistake, I could go back because there is no opponent. So you have time, you have rewinding, you could go back. Practice makes perfect. Very important to understand that when you play by yourself, you have the time, and it does help, and it's also relaxing. If you had a bad day at work, if you came home and your head is just exploding, pick up your cards, put a playmat, and just chill with your cards, and you see the time flies, like 2 hours just gone, just like that. But those combo will stay in your head. You know what's going on. When you play a tournament, a 7 round of Swiss or 8 or sometimes even more, at one point you will go to autopilot. Your head will shut down and you keep playing those combos because you know them. You will not make the mistakes. So that's very important for the Dudley deck. How could you become better is to just practice. You could practice with friends if your friends give you the time to do whatever you like, but my personal favorite is practice by yourself and just do that.
And that is all for this video. Oof, this is a very long video, and yeah, I might need some time to edit. Anyways, first of all, I would like to express my sincere thank you to DBOY from Team Crushing the Meta, and willing to spend, I think, close to 2 hours with me, setting up everything, and of course, record with me as well. Thank you very much for providing me with this opportunity, and hopefully I am able to collaborate with other content creators. If you are a content creator yourself, and if you do want to make this kind of video, comments or my email is in the description.
So yeah, I would like to thank you as well. Thank your watchers as well to having me on your channel. It's an honor. I always like to have collaboration videos, especially when it comes to Spike. It's my favorite clan, as in some of our watchers as well.
Do like and subscribe.
And of course, guys, this would have been nothing without you, our watchers, being able to give us the like, give us the support, and also talk to us in the comments. Talk to us in the comments. We love the comments. Give us more questions. We love questions.
Also, don't forget to check out his channel. His channel will also be in the description. And with that being said, I'll see you guys on the field.
Let's go.